to see a picture of how your anatomy of your body is, right? And what happens when you're pushing a baby through, right? So they have to fit through the center, right? They're gonna fit through here. Now the problem is that in normal life, this is your sacrum, right? And it's in the way, right? So literally, this is crazy. Okay, so normally 13 by 12 is about what your, bones allow. Now remember, we have a flexible, does it show it in this picture? This in the center, this is where you're gonna stretch for your baby, right? This is like, it's cartilage instead of bone there, right? So this is where you're gonna stretch and relax. Now literally your ligaments like just get super loose so that you can fit whatever size baby.
That's at the front?
This is, yeah. Yeah, it would be like right at the front here.
That's cool.
And then what's gonna happen to your sacrum is it's gonna go out, right? You will notice, well, if you ever are at somebody's birth, like you may not. There's often like a bump on someone's back at a certain stage. It's usually like when they're in like transition or like, you'll see like this bump and it's their sacrum literally making room for the baby's head to drop through. It's pretty crazy. I have a picture of how, see how this line here in the middle, before it was like all the way to here, right? Now you can see that it's right at this line making room for your baby's head to go through. So it just relaxes and pushes back. In this picture you can see it's even further back. So that's how the pelvis works, and the baby twists and turns as they go through. So, typically your baby will come out with their head down, right? But then their body is going to shift to get their shoulders out a little bit to the side so that really the shoulders come out. Because think about it, you don't want the shoulders to come through at the widest angle, right? They're going to come through sideways. So the baby, as they're being pushed out, they kind of go through a little rotation. So it's pretty fascinating.
Yeah, sometimes a really good doctor or midwife is going to help assist that and make sure that happens.
Yes, they will be touching, usually like turning the baby. But people give birth without anybody touching your baby, and it can naturally happen too. So it's just like all this stuff is like miraculous, isn't it? I really just wanted to show you those pictures. I'm not gonna I can pass these around, but I mainly just want everybody to be able to see that. So, all right. The last thing I was gonna mention about this worksheet is that it is like a, it like continues around, if that makes sense. It's like, so early first stage, it's the whole top line on the first page and the whole top line on the second page, because there's different, obviously, categories there, or columns. So I wanted to mention that so that you can read that correctly. Cool. All right, cervical lip. We haven't talked about that yet.
Yeah, has anyone ever had a cervical lip? Oh, nah.
Or know what a cervical lip is.
I know. It's a lip. It's a lip.
It's fine.
Okay. Did she have one?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't think so. No.
Well, I just wanted to talk about it because I do feel like it is a thing that I hear very, very often happen in births, and it did happen to me. So I just wanted to mention it just quickly. So basically, what happened in my birth with Gil was that I made it to 9.5 centimeters, and I had a tiny bit of a cervical lip left. And that's why I was saying, I was feeling the urge to push, and my midwife was, telling me, okay, he's probably not in the right position if you're, wanting to push when you're not even fully dilated yet. So we spent probably an hour trying all different positions, sitting on the toilet, sitting on the bed with the birth ball, sitting with the peanut, okay?
Oh, yeah.
The peanut is my worst nightmare. I hate the peanut.
It's a giant peanut-shaped pillow. With that's pretty sturdy, and it's supposed to open your hips.
It's basically a birth ball.
Yeah.
But it's shaped in like a peanut. It's the material of a birth ball.
Okay.
This one that I use.
Okay.
Yeah. So anyways, she had me sit with it in between my legs, all the things, trying to get this lip to go away. So we check again, and because I'm doing all these things to try and get out of the way, I'm actually tensing up my body more. And she's like, you actually regressed a little bit. And so
sorry.
And I of course was I'm in transition at this point, and I'm done. Yeah.
Why is she saying that?
I'm done. At this point, I'm I don't even, and so I'm everyone around me. So then she sits me down, which my midwife was amazing in this way, but she sits me down and she goes, if you're gonna feel like a failure, then we're not gonna do this. But my suggestion is that we give you the epidural and allow your body to relax, and then we can get the baby out. And I remember looking around at everybody in the room and being like, is this okay?
Yeah.
Can I do it? Like,
it is.
Yeah, and it is.
Yeah.
Right. It's like those moments that we have to just surrender to the Lord and be like, okay, it didn't go exactly how I thought, but that's okay, you know? And so that's what I did. We got the epidural. I slept for like, I think I slept for like 30 minutes maybe.
Yes.
And then I woke up and
like a nap.
Yeah. And I woke up and the baby was I was like, ready to push. And my and my
epidurals that often happen.
The nurse was like, let's just do a practice push. And she was like, stop pushing! And like, the baby was like going to come out. And I'm like, yeah, that's because he's been ready to come out for like, 2 hours now. So basically, afterwards though, I was like, I want to know more about this cervical lip. Like, what could I have done something better? Could I have done something else to get rid of it? If it happens again, I want to know,
Totally.
I don't want to have to end up in the place where I'm like getting an epidural so late in the game,
Totally.
And so, I did some research, and arnica oil, which is like so crazy. Brittany had this experience. She had a cervical lip, and her midwife just rubbed arnica oil on that last piece of cervix, and she said it burned a little bit, and then it went away.
Arnica
arnica oil.
You'll know about arnica. It's like a natural. It helps with like bruises.
Sore muscles.
It's actually like for pain. Sore muscles. Yeah, it's kind of like icy hot, but a natural version.
But a natural version. Homeopathic.
Yeah. And so that's one thing, and then black cohosh. It's another type of everyone's like, what is happening? It's another type of oil.
It's an herb, a strong herb.
Yeah, and then another thing I just wanted to mention was that like I read a whole article on it, and the lady was like, don't treat it like it's a problem. Like that's when it becomes a problem, is when we treat it like it's a problem. Yeah. She was like, they're very, very normal. And even my midwife at one point, I forgot to mention this, she like stuck her hand up there, pushed the cervix out, tried to push my cervix out of the way, and had me push down. And I was like, just don't.
That was very painful. I was at a burn with a cervical lip a couple months ago in May, and it was the same thing. Hillary was trying the whole time to like push the cervical lip out of the way, and it did eventually work. I'll be honest, it did, but there was a lot of pain in the process. She was like,
I just pulled back. I was like, no, this is gonna work. It's not gonna work. So
when maybe just like letting the baby labor down naturally as they're putting the pressure. That should.
Yep. I would say like trying the arnica oil, having it like on hand. It's not super expensive. Just have it on hand. Have it as part of your birth bag. Whatever you want to do. Just have it there. Because you didn't waste a ton of money, even if it doesn't happen, even if you have a cervical lip, and then you're prepared if you do, because I think probably I have like 4 women who have been like, I had a cervical lip, so,
which again, you may not even know if you do have one, but I think it's more so, I think too, like, what Jess mentioned about relaxation, for the birth that I was at, it was like, Hillary like put her to bed after that. I was like, go to sleep, which, go to sleep. I'm not sleeping. But, she really like tried to totally relax again, was on her side, closing her eyes. And, her body was able to like help push past it, right? So I think that's also good to be able to relax even through those,
Labor it's a marathon, it's a conservation of your energy. And at times going, okay, let's just lay down and see if we can rest for a little bit if this is really prolonging.
Which for me, I was in the tub, and I ultimately was like, I wish I would have never got out of the tub. I wish I would have just, because I was relaxed, as relaxed as I could be in the tub. And then I got out, and then I was like, okay, this is, right. That's when things started to shift. And so it's like, if something's working, just go back to what's working. Just go back to what's making you the most relaxed in the moment.
Yeah, that's a good
Totally.
Cool. All right. So we talked about relaxation. We talked about the urge to push. We talked about some positions. We talked about how the baby comes out.
I was gonna say with relaxation. So I wanted to talk about visualizations, birth visualizations, and those helped me like so much. I think we talked about this in the pregnancy of like listening to like relax your face, relax your, and I actually listen to stuff at night still. Not pregnancies, I could. But I did want to give like an example of like kind of this is how, let's see if I can get some good sound.
Life within it.
Yeah, this is hypnobirth.
Kind of a hypnobirth stuff. and it's just sort of like this relaxing music, and it's like I feel like it's my me time
My
too.
womb has provided space,
So it's
safety,
like in it.
and nourishment.
Y'all can see
Like,
right
bring
now.
you back.
Mm.
Yeah.
But like something that's like they're just like softly talking to you, and you
Yeah.
just go there with
Yeah.
them, and it's like it helped me so much
Yeah.
in like
My
being able
body
to
has
like
proven to
take naps during my active labor. Maybe I don't know.
Personality, I'm like, shut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not what to do.
Yeah. Because literally.
Yeah, exactly.
So going back to my perfect birth of Simeon, you know, I'd had those contractions all morning. I took the kids on a walk. We came back home and I was like, okay, I'm still having labor, but I laid down and listened to that. My kids miraculously slept at the same time, which, okay. And then, and then I woke up and I lost my mucus plug. So obviously when I was taking my hour-long nap, my body was doing
working.
something.
Yeah, it's
cool.
But I was able to like ignore all of that because I was listening to this thing and I was focusing on it. When I was talking to Katie and Lisa, I was like, Katie, what did you focus on? She's like, when Brett's low voice.
Yeah.
She's like, with him talking. So if you have something to focus on besides
cool.
the pain,
Yeah.
that is a game changer.
Yeah.
Huge.
I agree.
And maybe it's worship music. Maybe it's, you know, just something to really just focus on.
Sometimes it's just a focal point in the room. Like if I usually hang as a doula, I usually like hang lights so you can pay attention to the lights. Like anything in the room that's like a focal point for you to really focus on.
Yeah.
Is also
Yeah,
really
physical
helpful.
touch is my distraction. I like really love to be physically touched
Back
through the majority of
rub.
my
Yeah, like
labor.
pushing on your lower
Same.
back.
I'm like, get your
Yeah.
hands ready.
Sure.
You're gonna be exhausted
Yeah,
just
you're
like
gonna
I
be-
am.
Yeah, the ball on the back, so many
Yes.
different things.
Yes.
Yeah.
For me,
Yeah.
that really helps. But I do love the concept of visualizations. Even if you don't turn something on, I would certainly say that I am doing that in my head
Yeah.
while I'm laboring.
Yeah.
Hey, this is good. You know, let my body relax. Thank you, Lord, that you've made my body to do this. Like
Yeah.
speaking these things, even if they're just like in my head. I think that's huge. Just like finding that calmness, right? We can have peace that surpasses our understanding,
Yeah.
even when we're in intense, you know, labor. So.
Totally.
Also, I don't know if we talked about supernatural childbirth yet. It's a
Yeah, I
book.
was gonna say we should
Yeah.
mention that.
Yeah.
Or slash audiobook. Is that what Jess?
It's a
Yeah.
DVD or a CD.
Yeah, there's an audiobook and the regular book that you can read, but also there is a, like how you were saying, there's a relaxation
Yes.
video or like
Yes.
you can listen to it while you're in labor.
Yes.
And that one I will say is less like obnoxious.
Yeah.
Than like some of being like I like that one's like more just like calming, like
It's not obnoxious.
it's not obnoxious. I'm sorry, I'm not
You're
offended.
nothing you can
I
say will
like-
offend me. I'm not.
That's
It's
true,
fine.
that's
We're like one of the same person. We've ever studied. Like, it's fine. But anyways, yeah, I'm just saying that is
No,
a
that's
really
good.
it's a really good one.
And it's more Christian geared.
Yeah,
I
right?
think it's
Right.
scripture.
It is
Yeah.
scripture.
Mostly
I
like
believe it's scripture. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, but either way, I think that it depends on what is helpful for you. But I think that in supernatural childbirth, if y'all want to like look into that, I think it would be cool. It's a cool thing. I've read portions of the book. I didn't read the whole book. And I will say that like with Emmy, I really had a pain-free childbirth. I would like to say that that's true. Now, did I like go into it being like, I'm declaring a pain-free childbirth? No. But there are people that do that. Like Catherine and Jared prayed and felt that supernatural childbirth was like their birthing method, and they felt convicted in that. And so I would encourage you, if you don't know anything about it, to read about it.
Yeah.
And you know, I think for me, I like to use the word intense with labor versus pain, because I do think that when we're in the spirit, you know, the Lord can even take our pain, right?
Yeah.
And we may feel like these are really intense and these are really hard, but we don't have to be like, I'm in pain, you know? I just think that truly, like, He can take that away. And so I don't have a stance to say, like, everyone should have a pain-free birth, but I would encourage everyone to listen to that or read that, or just even to look at the scriptures that she references. I think they're encouraging, and I think it's an interesting perspective that's worthwhile.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, do you have more to say on that?
No, I will say I didn't read it. I listened to it, and I felt like that was more beneficial. I don't know. It's
Totally,
like
sure.
totally preference.
Yeah.
But it's like the actual author who like lived it, you know, reading it. So I think that's really awesome. So.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Cool. we are on placenta. Do you want to talk
Oh,
about
yeah.
placenta?
Okay, so you get to give birth to your baby, and it's amazing, but then you're not done. You have to give birth to your placenta.
Placenta birth, the second baby.
No, basically.
Yeah.
And so don't be thinking like, it's all, no, there's still like a little bit of work to be done. And sometimes that's like can be a big deal with like with Lauren, hers wasn't coming out and stuff.
Yeah.
But just to like, make sure that you're ready for that. Also get ready because they are going to rub on your belly, and that's the worst part for me. I think I'd rather push a baby out than them like
I mean, when I say rub, I mean they're literally gonna be like,
so hard.
yeah.
Yeah, or like
Get ready.
literally using their I'm like
What
yeah,
about Karen
actually
sticking her
use
hand
their
up
like
my vagina?
Yeah, to stop the bleeding.
I was bleeding, but yeah, she was. And it was like a double wing. I was like,
Yeah, it's terrible.
Yeah,
So
we should've talked about
when
that.
It's okay, I survived. I
Yeah.
honestly was not traumatized.
Again,
There.
you're gonna use your breathing techniques for that too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
As they're doing that, I'm engaging that. I'm still doing that.
Also,
I'm
you're
gonna be.
holding your baby.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
true.
I was just gonna say that.
So
Praise
you're-
the Lord, your body actually releases another dose of oxytocin as you get your baby on your chest and you're
We'll talk about
in
that
love
in
with
a
your little
minute.
baby.
Yeah.
And that actually does help with with birthing your placenta and also the rubbing.
Yeah, the
Helps a
rubbing.
little bit.
Because all those things, and the reason why they're rubbing, because I was like, why are you doing this to me? The nurse was like, it's so that you won't keep bleeding and you
Right.
won't bleed to death. I was like, okay.
And it also gets any of the blood clots out.
Yeah.
There,
Yeah.
sometimes we clot.
Oh,
like
yeah.
not everyone clots, but I know I had a few
So
clots.
bad.
Yeah, that they just sit there. The blood pools there,
Mhm.
and then they're literally pushing it down because otherwise it can stay there, and that's
Yeah.
what you don't want.
Yeah.
You don't want. a
And
blood
it
clot
was
to
cool
stay there.
because with this last birth, she was like, well, you feel it, you rub it. She's like, it feels like a melon inside of you. And I was like, oh, yeah,
Yeah.
that is
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
She was like, that's what we're looking for, about something to get to the size of a melon. And I was like, okay.
You technically can do it yourself.
I was gonna
but,
say I did it myself.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but also you're usually so focused on your baby that they're like, well, just.
When I
do
say
this.
I did it by myself, this was after. Like Karen was like,
Later.
continue to rub,
Yeah.
to make sure that your uterus is shrinking and feel for it.
Mhm.
So the next day after I gave birth to Ellie, I was like laying on my nugget, my flat nugget, and I was like trying to look for the hard, because your uterus will become like hard. It's freaky. It's almost like a rock inside your body because those muscles are like, they're
Yeah.
tightening up. So she was like, check for your uterus, and she said check the position of it, because what's gonna happen is your uterus has been like up all the way to like up here, right?
The size of a watermelon.
It's insane. But then after you birth your child, within 24 hours, your uterus will shrink like below your belly button.
Yeah.
She was like, make sure it's two like fingers below your belly button. So I was feeling for it, and it was hard, and it was shrinking up. So
It's amazing.
that's why they're rubbing, and that's why rubbing's good. And
Yeah.
but the placenta, you might want to look at your placenta. I recommend it. I think it's fascinating.
Yeah.
It's literally, it looks like a jellyfish.
Saved it, put it
Yeah, I
in a smoothie.
encapsulated my first placenta.
Encapsulated.
I did.
And that was good?
It was fine.
Did you notice any difference? Well,
I didn't notice any difference, and also my milk supply was like, bye, I had no milk, so I stopped taking them because I didn't want it to like interfere, because there's not a lot of research on placenta encapsulation. It's not like, here's all the stats for everyone that's done this. It's like, it's a little bit like, they used to do it in ancient Chinese, which also I'm like, Chinese? I don't know, maybe not my like, great like reference point for ancient history.
We love the
So,
Chinese though. We're
Yeah.
not-
Yeah, it's,
Maybe
I'm
they're
not
not
sure-
everything.
I'm not sure like where they were at with their, spirituality and things of that nature. But yeah, there's not a lot of research on it. So we just felt like since I didn't have milk, we didn't want to add in another unknown variable.
Yeah.
But I did end up taking them once I was like 4 or 6 months postpartum. I was like, oh, I'll just try and see. I didn't feel much, but I did end up like using them. So I just took them. I was like, I paid for this. I may as well. Also, that whole process. The
'Cause it's
lady who
what?
did that.
$100?
It was like $300.
Oh.
She was a character.
Okay.
She literally, first of all, she made a print of the placenta like onto a piece of paper.
Oh, that's
So it was like,
amazing.
it was kind of cool, like a jellyfish print. And then she took the umbilical cord and like dried it out and like turned it into a heart.
Oh, you're kidding.
She was very eccentric about her placenta-ness. So
Well, that's her job.
it was her job.
You know?
Yeah, she also I think is a doula actually.
did. She did it
Yeah,
well.
she
Melody Lynn keeps her placentas. They're all in her freezer. So
All
Yeah,
right.
because they're
That's
gonna
all.
plant them under the trees.
yeah, they want to plant them.
Cool.
Yeah.
Plant trees and
Yeah,
have
it's
like
cool.
an orchard of the placenta
Aw.
orchard.
Yeah.
The placenta.
Baby orchard.
I think that's just a vision.
I
I'm
don't
not sure
know.
if that's actually gonna happen.
Okay.
Yeah. Either way, I do recommend that if you can stomach it, like
I told
look
her I'm not
at
eating
it.
those apples.
Because it's your chance to look at
Yeah.
a placenta. You might
It's
not
pretty
again,
cool.
and it's really cool. It looks like a jellyfish. It has like the bag of waters, and then you'll see that the placenta is like attached to the bag of waters, and
It's crazy.
the umbilical cord's coming off of
Well,
it.
really,
and
the most amazing part is all the veins.
veins.
Because
so
it's like,
much.
yeah, you can see literally the blood that like
Yeah.
flowed through the.
insane.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So
The whole thing.
that's the placenta.
Yes.
Yeah. So after your baby comes out, skin to skin, so good, right? They were just in you,
Yeah.
and now they're like, where am I? Put them on you, right? They know your smell. They know your cells. They were made by your cells, right? So I think that skin to skin is so happy. Don't stress if you can't, guys. If you have a hard birth and delivery and your baby gets taken away, this goes back to the faith over fear.
Yes.
It doesn't have to be this like, I'm not having skin to skin with my baby. They're like traumatized for life. Like, no.
You can have skin to skin with the dad.
They can have skin to skin with the dad, or if you're,
Dessa had skin to skin with Kanan. I was literally so tired. I was like, bye.
Sure.
She like held him for the first like
I
4
think
hours of
like
his life.
human contact is important for them. They're getting it, right? I mean, like
Yeah.
I think of Hannah. The twins were like
Yeah.
not able to like
Yeah.
immediately, but they're amazing. And like
Yes.
I always like pray over them too. I'm like, the Lord fills these gaps for us.
Yeah.
Right? You don't have to have fear in
They
it.
still know their
So,
mama.
they still know their
sweet.
mama. But if you can, grab your baby. Or if you're like me, Elia's umbilical cord was like, she was
Short.
literally like here.
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, that was new for me. My first two were on my chest, but she was on my
Yeah,
stomach.
Gil's are short too. He was
So-
on my stomach. Yeah.
Depends, but get them on your skin, and then the umbilical cord still has blood flowing through it when it comes out, right? And so you can delay that. You can ask, especially if you're in the hospital, you can just delay that clamping to like until it stops pulsing. At that point, there's not really a lot of reason to keep it going. It's really just for the nutrients and the blood to flow through. So that's something I mentioned. Hospitals don't really educate you on that in any form, nor do they really educate you on skin to skin. Although I'm finding that more and more it seems like they're more on board for that. Yeah, which is really cool. So that's such a sweet moment, though. I know with Noli, with my first, I can't even describe can't even describe that moment. It's like I was elated, and I was like, I almost felt like I couldn't catch my breath, like in a way, like oh my goodness, like what am I holding type thing, It was so miraculous and such a special moment. So I praise the Lord that I was able to like hold her right away. But again, even if you can't, the Lord is there, and you'll get to hold them. You'll get there. So that's
Yeah,
skin to skin.
I was gonna say too, as we were talking, I'm like, oh yeah, birthing of the placenta often comes after the skin to skin,
Yes.
right? They come right out, they come on you.
Yes.
You wait to clamp the cord, and then you can birth your placenta. So just so you know, it's gonna be like 5 or 10 minutes, max 30 minutes or something like that. Is that what?
Yeah,
Seen
also
it go
like
to an
some
hour.
people literally birth
Okay.
their placenta and then cut the cord. It just depends.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
don't
that can
have to
happen
do
Depending
it.
on how long your cord is.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
things like
exactly.
that too.
Yes. Yeah, obviously for me, I was like, let's cut the cord once it stops pulsing.
Right.
Then I can
I want
my
my
baby.
baby. Yeah.
And I like to attempt to nurse right away, especially if they're like sad and like crying or like searching. Sometimes they'll come out being like,
Yeah.
And so
They
you can
almost
try
always
to
go out like that,
pretty
yeah.
much you can try to get that latch, if you have capacity for it. Right away, and that also helps. Again, the nipple stimulation. You can get them to nurse right away. That will actually help your uterus right away too. So I'm kind of like, for me, I've had some like bleeding stuff. So I often will be like, okay, it would never hurt to like get the nipple stimulation going, get the baby nursing. So that's something that I always. Yeah, my birth. Yeah, my nipple stimulation. I was like bleeding, so we were like all just like. Karen was like,
Everyone touch your nipples.
Karen was like nipples. I was like, okay.
And Chelsea was holding the placenta in a bucket.
Oh, for sure.
And
Chelsea just leans over and she's like,
Yeah. Nipple stimulation. It's good. It's good. I'm telling you, it works. Anyway. Yeah, good. Okay. Uterus rubbing, peeing.
Oh yeah, super important to pee after you give birth, because this gets everything out of line. Let's talk about this. I didn't even know that things get out of place.
Yeah.
Like there's this giant thing and now it's being vacated and so all of your organs are just gonna flip flop anywhere.
It feels like a bowl of soup. It's like
It does.
Yeah.
floating
Or
around.
bread dough. My belly felt like a bread dough. Anyways, all that skin and whatever. Okay.
Yep.
So getting those things back in line, I think we touched on diastasis recti.
We did last week.
And the
right?
ab
Yeah.
separation, how your abs can become separated with during pregnancy. Okay, so something that I did this past time is I actually asked for like a postpartum girdle of sorts. I think it was like a big athletic stretch thing, and I just throw it on, and that gets those
good.
things back into place. It helps your uterus get back into place. So the reason why you should pee after labor is because then it reestablishes where that bladder should go, and reestablishes all of that so you don't get UTIs and things like that. I was struggling to pee after Abel, and the nurse was like, try blowing through a straw. And so I did, and I immediately peed.
Yeah.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
I was at this one birth, and she couldn't pee. The midwife was like, you have to pee. And she was just like, I can, and we tried blowing. And anyways, I don't remember what happened with her. I think she's okay.
Yeah. It usually eventually comes.
But, keep that in mind that and hopefully, your birth team is going to be making sure you do all these things, but just this is what I have to do.
Yeah.
And if you're struggling, to pee, try a straw.
Yeah. I always say that I can feel my organs moving. I'm not kidding you. Like, I will be, like, the first and second day, I will be like, what is, like, it almost feels like your stomach's growling, but then I'm like, no, it's just my organs moving inside my body. Back into place.
Yeah, it's all just getting. So I think that's why the girdle is good.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily like I need to have my flat stomach. That will never be the case for me ever. But to really get those muscles back into place, to get those organs back into place. We'll talk more probably about that with postpartum too, of like being able to wear those things, like some sort of girdle or something that'll support that.
Absolutely.
It's good.
Good.
So.
Okay. So we're on the last section.
We kind of already talked about.
Yeah.
Scripture list or birth affirmations.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's a cool thing to just kind of gather. I watched Catherine and Jared do this. They had gathered just like a list of scriptures that they felt like they wanted to have read during their, labor. And it was really cool to just kind of, she read through them several times. And it was just, first of all, it was like something to do, which I'm like, sometimes you just need, like we talked about, a distraction, right?
Yes.
Something to do is to read through the scriptures. And then, when it got harder and more intense, then it was more so Jared being like, don't forget, him reading them over, right? And so, I think that it's good. That's part of the preparation. Like, we always want to use the word as our, like, sword, as our weapon. So it's like, even in labor, like, this is what we're standing on, right? So, and then affirmations are great, too. Just, like, I know in this community we often will even like do that at a shower.
Yes.
Just like write some things down. We can
Paint on
encourage
it.
one another. Painting. Yeah, exactly. I'm like, is that more for the person in labor or for us? It's great. And then you were gonna talk about just helpful items.
Yeah, so some helpful things to have before birth and then also during birth.
Jess is a pro and has a freaking doula bag.
She has an awesome bag. Birth bag.
With all the things.
I really love my birth.
It's so nice. She let me borrow it, and I'm attached to it.
I've added some more stuff to it.
Have you?
Yes.
That's exciting.
Some arnica oil in it?
Yeah, article.
Nice.
Yeah, just all the things. Raspberry tea.
Yeah, amazing.
So a few ones we put on here is a birth ball. That's like really, really important to have. If you're gonna go to the hospital, they almost always have one there that you can use. But like to have one at home for before labor
really is
and then
nice.
also during labor. The birth ball is literally
I'm a huge fan.
the biggest.
Yeah.
In all areas.
Yeah.
Bouncing on it brings the baby down, and then like we were saying, you can
your hips. It
Yep.
will loosen your hips if you're like swaying on a little bit.
and then like we were saying, you can relax on it like during labor. So many things. Oils, essential oils, seriously so helpful. So what I do is I make like a massage oil. Some people are like, yes, pan away because it has peppermint in it. Some people are like, no, I don't want that because like it can diminish your milk supply. It didn't do that for me. and then I also have used it on other people and it didn't do that for them. It
Yeah.
just depends, I guess. But I have like 2 different massage oils, like one with Panaway and one without. But like Panaway helps so much, like if you have a headache, like things like that when you're not even in labor. So it even more helps when you're in labor. I rub it usually like for back labor or even like on the lower belly for contractions. It's amazing.
Yeah.
But there's like a bunch of specific oils that really help during labor. I guess I could have made a. I was just like crying this morning because I didn't bring my birth back. I was like, why didn't I do that? And like to show
You can
everybody.
bring it next week.
Yeah.
Yeah, I will bring it next week. Yeah. I'm like, anyways. Heat or ice, which is really helpful.
Yeah. True.
Yeah, I'm like, the rice bags for heat, I don't know, really help me. That you can stick them in the microwave. Has anyone ever done that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
except I don't have a microwave. I used a hot water bottle.
Yeah,
Which
okay.
is just, and I use that for Becca too. You just fill it with hot water. It's
Yeah.
the same concept as
Right,
ice bag.
yeah.
Yes.
Totally.
But ice.
There's lots of different things. Yeah. Yeah, so an ice pack, a water, hot water. Can you make that cold too?
Yeah, you could. You could
You can
put
put
ice
water in
and
it.
cold water in it for sure.
And then
You got it, buddy.
Way to go.
Yeah. Could he be any cuter? He is the cutest kid.
Oh my God.
I know, I can't.
okay.
So cute.
Oh gosh. Okay, a shower or bath.
Yeah.
So for me, yeah, like some people like love shower literally throughout their whole entire labor. Like as they're laboring, they like love it. Hang on. Yeah.
A birth ball in the shower.
Yes. Seriously.
What?
True. Yeah.
What? My
Just
friend.
sit,
Be
let the-
careful. But
My friend said that
The
she
water
would
on it.
focus on the water just like dripping down her
Yes.
face.
Showers are awesome. I'm a big
You
shower
know.
fan.
Same friend
Yeah.
decided one
Shower
day
never fan.
during labor she was gonna be like next to the air conditioning vent and just focus on the air conditioning vent.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
The things that
absolutely.
we do, find the thing that
Yeah.
you just want to focus on,
Yeah.
and you will get through so many contractions that way. And I was also thinking about it. Labor is like a time warp where like it's going by, and then later on you're like, that was 5 hours.
Yeah.
Like I had no idea,
Definitely.
you know, because I was just like just one contraction at a time,
Yeah.
just going through, and then all of a sudden you're like, maybe not all of a sudden because you know you're having a hard time. Almost
you do
dying.
kind of feel like you're in a fog too.
Yeah.
It's almost like you're in another world and other people are like outside of it. And you're like,
yeah.
Super cool. I'm gonna pass this out.
Yeah, yeah.
oh yeah.
You wouldn't have one.
I'm
The
like, Bradley
roadmap.
people might. Should you give this in the Bradley class?
I
don't recognize
You should take a look at
Do you want to look
that.
at it? I can make a few more copies.
The roadmap of the labor, because it is a twisting, winding road.
Yeah.
Of like, could go this way, could go
Yeah.
that way,
For sure.
and stuff. So.
Yeah, and the last thing we had on here was like a robe, which I mean,
Yeah.
it's like super
Robe,
helpful.
yes.
Yeah.
I love robes. Guys, robes are nice because you want to be naked, but you're like, should I be
Yes.
naked all the time?
Oh, I was naked
Yes, you were. But also
Yeah.
for like 2 weeks after.
July baby.
July baby.
Yeah. I always had winter babies, so I liked actually like a cozy
Yes.
robe because I was always like, I guess cold. I don't know.
Yeah.
I was like, you know, just something like cozy. But it's great because you're nursing, so you can like, you know, and even in labor, I liked the robe. I wore it.
Yeah, for me in labor, I like the sports bra. Like I like to just have a sports bra on.
Yeah.
And then it's like, yeah, when you're done, you can easily either take it off or like, you know, lower to nurse, like all those things. I don't know. For me, I really like the sports bra because I was like still felt like I was like covered mostly,
Sure.
you know. And then obviously down there wasn't covered because you know you just don't do.
I had a little dress that I wore that was
Sure.
just kind of something that like
Yeah.
was a deep thing that I could easily pull back. And I always had like a nursing bra on. I do not wear any underwire. My nursing bras are basically glorified sports bras.
Yeah.
And I wear them all the time even when I'm not nursing because
Yeah.
they're so comfortable.
Totally.
And so and just like a little dress that was like maybe this long that I got off of Amazon.
Yeah.
You can like totally look those up and it'll so you know whatever I never labored naked, that you know that wasn't something that I did,
Yeah.
but also maybe being in the hospital that was like you're not
I was
really
in the hospital
that.
completely naked.
I know. I always use Dessa as an example because she was like, she like is a modest person, like normally. But then I like always tell the story like I get to her house and she's just butt naked and she just like
I
curled
can't,
over the
Dessa.
table, and I'm like, what's happening right now? And then we had to convince her to put clothes on to walk through the emergency room. You know, so you just never know how you're gonna be. You can be the most modest person, and then when you're in labor, you're like, bye, clothes. What are those?
Yeah, for sure. I've seen that. Yeah.
People saw that.
Yeah.
Who cares?
Yeah.
At least you didn't get in the car naked, like completely naked.
I mean,
I would have
She
if
only
they
had
let
a,
me.
yeah, we had to definitely convince her to put pants on. But she definitely walked through the ER with only a bra. So you know.
Hopefully not.
Yeah.
You are like get everything off me though.
Yeah.
It's like you just like don't want like
So fun.
I will say her contraction pattern also was like really crazy. Like she was having contractions like every 3 minutes from the very get-go. Which is like normally you get like breaks, all that stuff. She did not have that. So I would be a little losing my mind also if I'd be like, get everything off. Yeah, we're done.
That's awesome. Way to go, Tessa. Memories.
Any questions?
all right, yeah. Let's open up to questions.
Do you have any questions?
I have a question. I have many questions.
Like, do I want to have a baby? No, kidding.
I'm not sure.
I know, I hope we didn't scare you.
I'm like, he's like, what?
Yeah, he's like,
Okay, so what about people that are like really easily susceptible to passing out?
Yeah.
Christiane, can you speak to that?
Yeah.
I passed out a lot in my labor.
Oh my!
Okay, so
Yeah.
that is a thing.
Yeah, it is a thing.
Which I was not able to eat at all.
Yeah.
Right.
Or let alone as much as I probably should have in the time span that I labored.
Yeah.
I just threw up every time I ate.
Yeah.
From the moment that like contractions actually started.
Yeah.
So what I did is I had people nearby me
Yeah.
who knew that I was going to pass out. Like
Yeah.
when I was trying to pee
Never
for the
left
first
alone.
time, I passed out there, but Karen was standing right by me and she was like, "Can I have a minute?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you just came back to it and you're like, and we're back.
Yeah.
Probably
yeah.
the next contraction. Her body was like, oh, hello.
Yeah.
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 It just happens.
Yeah.
And having lots of juice on hand is good. 'Cause
Oh,
that
yeah.
helps.
Blood sugar.
It's like a sugar boost, and you
Honey.
can drink it instead of having to chew it. You can just like fix it,
Yeah.
and that
Or honey sticks. Those are
I'd
really,
help
really
too.
good.
Like juice during labor is good, especially like certain types of juice. I gotta remember. You don't-
Electrolytes.
Like grape juice, something that would be high sugar.
Yeah,
Orange
maybe.
juice,
I'm trying
not
to
too
remember what
acidic.
my midwife gave me. Yeah, not too acidic for sure. You don't really don't drink orange juice. It would
Yeah.
be like apple, cranberry, probably like grape. Yeah, would be good.
I feel like that's what they always have at the
Yeah,
hospital.
yeah,
Apple and grape cranberry.
yeah,
The sweet
Totally.
labor and delivery nurse like filled up an entire like
yeah.
thing of like just opening these little packets.
Yeah,
for me.
They're like little cups. You're like, why is this for like one?
Because as a VBAC, I'm not allowed to eat or drink or anything during it. They're so mean to me.
That is terrible.
Yes.
It's terrible.
Thank you.
Okay, no.
Even this many kids after?
Yeah, they're so mean.
Fight it, fight it. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay.
So I just wait till the last minute to go. That's my way of coping.
That's crazy.
Yeah, and I just drink on the way, you know, eat on the way.
I like rebellious self. I would be like eating. I'd be like, hey.
Yeah.
They're like walking.
I think that
Don't
if
do
you
that.
are in
Don't
a
do that.
hospital situation and it's a first time mom or there's no risk or something like that, go ahead and sneak a snack.
Yeah, I think it's ridiculous that you can't eat.
Sometimes, like,
And then if the nurse is like super like, you can't be eating, just sneak it. And and pray, I guess too. Pray for wisdom in that.
Yeah.
So, anyways, after my births, I would always be like all of the juice and all
Yeah.
just to like restore all of that, all the food, like eat
Yeah.
a big nice meal because you just worked
Yeah.
so hard.
And
No
actually,
restrictions if you can.
After you push and give birth, orange juice is great because it has vitamin C and it has like a good boost of like.
or a mimosa.
Yeah, sure.
Sure.
I
You
literally tell
just
Greg all the
pushed
time,
a
I'm like,
baby
bring me-
out.
I
Celebrate.
seriously tell Greg, I'm like, bring me a Corona as soon as I get this thing. I've been like craving a Corona this entire pregnancy. I'm like,
Stop.
as soon as I finish this thing, yeah, I want a Corona.
And that's good for your milk supply.
Yeah,
it is.
Beer, y'all. Beer.
Beer is good
Yes.
because it
Yeah.
has high
Brewer's
calories.
yeast.
Just like
It has something called brewer's yeast in it that is very good for your milk supply. So, beer.
Yeah. Court, what else you got?
Or anybody else.
Or anybody.
Yeah.
I got one to go back kind of to the beginning.
Yeah.
Can you guys give us more of a definition? Like, what is the bag of water? Can we talk about what it is?
It's a sack of fluid that like basically protects your baby. It's like a bag of fluid that's completely surrounding your baby.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean,
It's like
I would
a
say-
little bubble.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
basically.
like a, yeah. It
I mean, there's not like a ton to it. That's like literally
You
what
should
it does.
look
Just
up,
protect your baby.
it's
watching
separate.
a baby born
And
in
call.
water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ooh.
So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's separate from your uterus. You know, your uterus is the muscle that's holding it all and stuff. But then the bag of waters is just something that's created with the pregnancy. With the inside of it is the placenta. It's just holding everything together.
The amniotic
So-
sac. The baby does breathe, practices breathing in the amniotic sac, like in the sac, in the bag of waters.
How crazy is that?
They pee it out and then breathe it.
They go.
Which is why they suck liquid out of the baby's lungs.
Yes.
Often after the baby's born, they will. Not every baby needs that, but some babies need the mucus like,
Yeah.
to get all the fluid out so they can breathe.
Oh.
Yeah.
Like, have you ever thought about that? That like, they're like breathing
So
fluid,
wacky.
and then they go into breathing air, and it's
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
not a big deal.
I know. Yeah.
Or it is a big deal, but like,
Yeah.
They're like
They're
fish.
They're fine.
yeah. I
Yeah.
love
So
that.
their lungs are developed and they literally breathe. Yeah. In and out.
That's why you can give birth in the water because
Yes.
they really don't know the difference.
They don't know the difference. Yeah. They
And
can come
until
right
you
out into
lift
the
them
water.
actually out of the water, they don't know
They
to
don't know
take
to
their
breathe
first
air.
breath.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Which is the same reason why you can have them go through the birth canal and they're not suffocating. It's because they don't need oxygen yet.
Yeah.
That's just how the Lord.
Because they're getting a lot of it through the
Through the umbilical cord.
through the
Yeah.
umbilical.
Oh,
They're
so
getting
once you
oxygen.
cut that, then it's like,
Yeah, then they definitely need.
Well, once they're fully out,
Yeah.
they're like
They should
once
be able to
they hit. That's what I'm saying. Like even when their head is just out, like it's a miracle because it's like even when their head is just out, they don't breathe.
They don't
They're
technically
still
need
not
the
technically
breath.
breathing
Yeah.
until their entire body is out, and then they're like, oh hi, here I am.
Yeah.
And it's a like stimulation too once they're like, cause they've been like this, and so it's like the shock. I think they're like whoa, and then they like breathe.
Yeah.
Like,
And when they're going through the birth canal and being squeezed, that fluid is coming out of their lungs.
Yeah.
So it's really good. A C-section baby, that's the danger, is
Totally.
that they haven't been like squeezed and stuff to go through, and so
Yeah, I
they have to
forgot
watch
about
out and
that.
make sure
Yeah.
that they're getting the stuff out of their lungs and things like that.
Yeah.
So
So with water birth, I've heard that it can like calm you down too much where like your contractions will like, yeah, that's a thing always or like sometimes?
Not always.
everybody's
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, I just went to Chelsea Noack's. Well, didn't just go. Her baby is
several months ago.
Yeah. But yeah, that was like the last birth that I did, and she gave birth in the water, and it was like great. I'm like, well, I will say, she didn't contract in the water the entire time, but I did for my birth with Gil. I was in the water almost the entire time, and it didn't slow down my contractions.
Yeah.
It was like great, and they like check the water. The water can't be over 100
Certain
degrees.
times,
Yeah, like there's certain things because you can. But then like Joy has a different story. Like she got in the tub and she was trying to push and her body was
Couldn't let it
too
out.
relaxed. Yeah,
And
to
she
where
was like,
she.
Right.
like almost passed out. She actually might have passed out.
No, she did. I
She
think
just
she did.
Yeah.
I thought she did
Oh.
pass out for
She
a
got
second.
so
Yeah.
relaxed.
But she was so hot.
Yeah.
And like over relaxed. Yeah.
Yep.
I think that water birth I think is amazing. I think it just depends on the person.
Yeah.
I have never liked to be in a tub, and I probably never will. I'm never even gonna get a tub. I don't want it. But I think that other people are like I know Melissa Quick. It was like all she wanted was like to labor in the tub and like give birth in the tub.
Yeah.
And it was like that was her like sweet. That was where she felt relaxed. That's what we're talking about, right? Like what is it that relaxes you? And
She
like
didn't ever. She was never in the tub.
I know. No, she was for Asa.
Just was there.
I was literally at her birth. She was
Then
there.
which one?
Like, I don't know.
Which child did she labor in the tub for?
I don't know.
none of them.
I don't think she got it. Maybe it was a
I feel like
desire.
she-
I think she wanted
She's talked to me
to.
so much about water birth.
I think she wanted to, and then she didn't get
I
to.
wasn't
Yeah.
there, so either way, I
I was
know
like,
that
hell
she's
yeah.
somebody that I've heard talk about water birth
Yeah.
a lot, and that it's like something that she desired was to like give birth in the water. So,
How come you can't be in hot water when you're pregnant?
I am.
because if you there's a certain temperature. If you overheat your body,
Well,
it's
like a
dangerous
hot
for your
tub.
baby
Like a hot
because
tub.
they're going to be your temperature too.
Yeah.
So it's like you don't want to get them too hot.
If your body temperature rises too much, it's really only a hot tub. Like
Yeah, it would
you
have to
can
be,
take,
like,
you can take a
pretty
warm
hot shower.
bath. You can take a hot shower.
Oh,
They
Warm bath
say
is fine.
they say don't take hot showers. Let's be real. I'm like burning my skin off when I shower.
I know, me too.
Like,
That's why
yeah, I'm like as long as you're not like about to pass out in the the shower, like then you know, okay, I'm probably taking too hot in the shower.
Yeah. Well, in
But-
showers, I'm like, your whole body's not immersed in it.
Yeah.
I think it's different when you're sitting in a hot tub. Your whole body is getting hot. Like your belly is like hot.
I mean, I get so hot, like even when I'm not pregnant, I get so hot in a hot tub, I almost pass out. So
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah. That's why hot tubs are like.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I think baths are fine.
I have a question about breaking. When you're breaking the bag of waters, why do you break? Like, why in a lot of hospital situations, they're like, we have to break your water.
Good question.
But like, do they do that at home birth as well? Would at a home birth, would Karen be like, okay, we have to break your water?
so usually when you stall, like when your labor like starts to stall,
Mhm.
it's like something that will be like give your body the extra like oomph to like get going a little bit more. So like I think you
Okay.
were saying someone was stuck at 6 centimeters or like
Yeah, that was Catherine.
Oh,
I think I think it really largely depends on where you're at in your labor
Yeah.
and how you're feeling. I think it's like, okay, all my energy is starting to like really go away, but I'm really not progressing past the 6.
yeah.
But I think like you have to realize too, it is your decision. Like unless your midwife is like, this is dangerous and you're not gonna survive
Right.
if you don't do this,
Yeah.
then I'd be like, listen to them. But if they're like, well, this is something we could do, and if you're like, I don't really want that, then just like try going to sleep or try something else, you know? But I think, you know, that's one of those things where it's hard, like there's just not a formula. It's
Yeah.
not like do this, this, and this. I think in the hospital, they are on a time. They have a clock ticking.
Yeah.
And so I think there is that pressure in
You're
a way
more
that
likely
there's
in the
not.
hospital to be pushed to do it for no apparent reason.
Yes.
Yeah.
I would agree
I
with
would
that.
say if Karen was saying let's break your water, she probably has
Right.
good reason.
She
to
probably has a
break your
reason. She's probably
Yeah.
seeing that you're getting physically tired,
Yeah.
Yeah.
that you've stalled, and that it might be something that would help.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you could ask her, what if I didn't? And she could give you the answer. That's
Yeah.
the nice part too about like a home birth and a midwife. They'll
She's probably gonna be like, your labor's gonna last another 10 hours.
to which you'd be like, let's do it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think that I think it's different. But in the hospital, I think it's because they're on, you know, their time clock and they have kind of their. I would say that they have a little bit of an agenda there. Again, not that they want you to suffer and like they're not out to get you, but they just have like this is what we do and we do this because this is what we do. And it's just
Yeah, and my friend is a labor and delivery nurse, and like literally, she doesn't like. I will ask her questions like, and she's like, "No, this is just what we do."
right.
Like they were never trained to do
Yeah,
anything different,
right,
and nor
That's
do
kind of
they.
what I'm saying.
There's no intent, it's just
They
Yeah,
have this like
right.
just like this thing that they protocol.
And they don't like hire certain people who care more about birth. Like they're not like
Right.
they don't care. Like they're like, you want this job? Great, awesome.
Yeah.
Here's what we do.
I do. If we go to a hospital, and in my situation, I always say like, can I get a nurse that loves natural birth?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Because there are some
some
nurses
Cool.
that love it, that
There
really
are.
get
True.
into it,
yeah,
and then there are some nurses that are like, just hook her up to an
Yeah.
epidural.
yeah.
Right.
You know, hook her up and let us do our thing.
Yeah, that's very true.
With Katie Scott, her water wasn't breaking. She got to the hospital at an 8 at like 6 p.m. 8. She was, you know, had done so much work on
Yeah.
her own. Well, then, you know, I could just tell that she was really just getting through, and it had been like 2 or 3 hours. And maybe longer. It was like 10 o'clock.
Oh, wow.
So 4 hours. And it was like, and her water wasn't breaking, and the nurse was like, she can't push unless I check her. And I should have been like, just push. Because sometimes you can push and break that water.
Right.
You
On
know,
your
that
own.
would
by
happen
your
to you.
bearing
Uh-huh.
down.
Yeah.
When you push is when
When
your
I
water
started to
breaks.
push, my water would break.
Yes.
Within the
Okay.
first
And
couple
your
of
water,
pushes.
there is no rule. Your water does not have to break. So
It
Yeah,
doesn't.
you can
Can
do
you
birth with,
technically-
yeah,
Yeah.
with the waters.
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I secretly really want to do.
My mom
It
does
sounds more
that.
painful though, because it's more coming through your vagina.
I don't know. I just don't get it.
That's so
You know
great.
what? Strangely though,
Like,
no,
don't
it's
do
not.
it.
Yeah,
Because
like a
it
little
goes
slipper.
behind.
It's like a balloon.
It's behind. So the waters are just behind your
And
baby.
it doesn't matter because they're not breathing.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Also,
Um,
to like talk to your husband and make sure you guys both know your birth plan, so that in the
Yeah.
case
True.
that someone is like, oh, we want to do this, you're not really in a place where you can make decisions.
Yeah.
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 Like, well, actually,
So like
Yeah.
your husband Caleb will be like, okay, this is what her desire is. She
Yeah.
will do this. Like,
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, or your doula who
Yeah.
also can
Yes, or
like
your
help
doula.
for that.
Yeah.
Because your husband may also be very focused on you.
Yeah.
It's just like
And he
that's
might
why we
not
have the
know.
team.
Yeah.
That's why we have the birth
Yeah.
team.
Yeah. Because in that situation, so at 10 o'clock, the doctor was like, I think we should break your waters. And Katie was like, I want everything to be natural. And in my mind, I was like, if her water gets broken, we're going to have this baby in like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Because I knew she's got to be at like a 10,
Yeah.
probably.
Yeah.
But she doesn't really want to be checked. and just trying to do things naturally, but at the same time, with the restrictions of the hospital. So I was like, Katie, I would go ahead and break your water so that you're not laboring into 1 o'clock in the morning when she could have had the baby she had him at like 10:30. So just to break, and he broke her waters, and then she was like, oh, he's here. I feel him.
Well, because like the fluid can actually stop your baby from engaging fully into your
Sometimes
pelvis,
it
which
can.
is what they which is what they need. So then when you break the water, it's like, oh,
They just
here's the
drop.
baby's head, and then they're just like able to get right engaged where they need to be.
Yes.
So that really is the helpful thing about breaking your water, and so it's like, and I would say breaking your water isn't completely unnatural. Like,
I think
it's not,
one of those.
it's one of those like in between things where it's like, I'm not giving my body,
I sometimes
you know,
wonder if
something
they
that
have done
doesn't
that
need.
for, like, I haven't researched this. That's something I
Probably.
would love to look into. I know that I watched Call the Midwife. I know they were doing it in the 1950s. But I'm like, I don't know if, like, way back when, I mean, the danger would be you'd have to have something sterile. Or, I mean, they might have stuck their hands up there. You really probably theoretically could get your hand up and, like, pinch it, So,
What is the process
of what?
when you have to break the water?
They use at the hospital. They use a hook.
It's like a thing. It's like
It looks like a crochet needle.
Yeah.
Like a crochet
they
needle.
get their gloves on, they take it out of the sterile bag, and then they,
It doesn't hurt.
and then all of a sudden you get a whole bunch of water, and
Yeah.
then that baby's head just gets right engaged. Which is why your labor is not as intense if your water bag hasn't broken, because the baby's head might not be as engaged as it would be. Whereas if your water breaks early, it's probably going to make a more intense labor because that baby's head is really engaged. And that's cool too, because their head is actually keeping all the water in.
Yeah.
Which is good. And then as you change positions, if your water is broken, you change positions, you're gonna leak because that baby's gonna be shifting around in there. But it acts like a little plug
It's
in
crazy.
your cervix.
Yeah, like for me, I didn't have that like labor that Jody's talking about, where she's like, I went for a walk and like all that stuff. Like my water broke, and then my contractions started an hour later, and they were like intense right away
Yeah.
because my water had broken.
Because you
And
were ready.
so-
That means you were ready.
Yeah. And so like my body didn't have a break like I had a break in between contractions, but it was like, okay, I have like a 3-minute break, and then like I'm back at like the strong, really tough contractions again. And honestly, I had tough contractions like my entire labor.
Yeah.
And then they just started to get way more intense in the end.
Yeah.
But I never had like I'm smiling in between contractions. Like
You're just trying to gather yourself
yeah,
in
right.
between contractions.
Unfortunately, I didn't. So that is the difference of like having the support of your water, being there to help support the baby, and then the baby just being engaged the entire time and being like, I'm coming out.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Because your water broke with Town Hawk, right? Right at the beginning.
Yeah, and I'm already feeling kind of like this anxiousness, like, what if my water doesn't break? And I know you were like, let's try and like retain those waters this time. But then I'm like, the water breaking was the first sign of labor.
Yeah.
And then I'm like,
Your body will still
Don't
do it,
worry about it.
regardless
Just
of if
remember
your
me,
water
I
runs
never
out.
had to break my water, and my baby was fully engaged, and
Yeah.
then I was pushing, and then
Right.
just like it was like trickling out, and it
Yeah.
was like,
I guess the hook kind of just freaks me out.
don't
Well,
be
if
freaked
you're-
out by that.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
Yeah, literally, like I didn't even feel it going up me. Like
Yeah, same.
you don't. It's so small.
It's a non-event. Don't even
Yeah,
worry about it.
that's like one of those things. And then you don't feel your water. You don't feel your water bag, so you don't feel them breaking your
Yeah.
water.
Yeah, it's not connected.
Like you
to
literally
it.
basically feel nothing.
So you probably won't even.
Yeah.
Yeah, you won't.
Yeah.
That's so confusing to me though that they do this needle thing because of all the things of yeah exactly.
Yeah.
It's like, what?
Of all the things that are supposed to be like very safe for the baby, and you're saying that the baby's head is almost like a plug.
Yeah.
Where's the needle go in regards to the baby's head?
It's not necessarily. It's actually something
Yeah,
that's
it's hooked,
shaped
but I mean,
shaped
like,
more like
it's
this.
firm, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
you just
And I-
slide past like an eyeball or something. Like
Yeah.
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 Yeah, I don't have a lot to say. I don't know for sure. I mean, yeah, you're kind of trusting yourself to them. And
Yeah.
they
Well,
do it all
also,
the
I
time,
think, if your waters haven't been broken and the baby's head isn't fully engaged,
There
then
would be
that would
space.
there would be a little bit of
Space in
room.
between.
However, if your waters are broken, there isn't any, and they would, because you wouldn't need to use the hook in that situation.
Yeah.
So
so your baby's not gonna be engaged unless your water's broken.
Sometimes, that's why we're saying like that's sometimes why they do break your water because like your labor stalls
Yeah.
and then your baby's kind of just sitting there not fully engaged and you need that little extra like
Yeah.
to get your baby engaged fully.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's why I'm saying it really just depends.
Which
But-
they would check you before they would break your water too.
Yeah.
So I would say I wanted to mention that too. Like I would say they will check what's happening before they would just be like, we're gonna break your water. Beep. Like they would feel and like see, you know, if there's space to obviously break the water, where your baby's at, how high they are, things like that. If the baby's totally locked in and engaged, I don't think they would break your water. I think they'd be
I feel like
let's
most of the time, especially when you're giving birth at home, I don't ever hear someone at home their water being broken.
Yeah, I'm trying
Like-
to think if I've ever heard of that either.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
But a
Usually,
midwife could. She would have the stuff to be able
She
to
could,
do that.
yeah.
for sure, but
If she deems
Oh,
it,
I guess
if
at
it's
Julie's
necessary.
birth, they did poke, they didn't break her water, but she had like what they called a sac. This is interesting, I've never seen this. Like a sac of just like a pocket of part of her bag of water. Yeah, a fluid that was like blocking the head from engaging.
Oh.
So they just broke the little sac. It was like just like a little, and then, I've never heard of that before.
well, yeah, that's like
But they
instead of
didn't break
the
her whole bag of water.
yeah, that's like instead of the fluid being behind the baby, a little bit
There
of
was a little
a
bit
little
in
bit
front.
of fluid
Yeah.
gets in front of the baby, and then
Yes.
they're like, oh, this is stopping the baby.
So that was at a home
Yeah.
birth, and I think the reason they did that was because it was preventing the head from dropping.
Yeah.
So I think that's probably the only time they would.
But I definitely would not be like anxious in the fact of like, oh, my labor's not going to start unless my water breaks. That's,
Yeah.
that's
No,
a
don't
lie.
worry about
It's
it.
not. Yeah, your labor is going to start when your body is ready, no matter
Absolutely.
what. So
And-
Another question. What do
Yeah,
you
go ahead. I was just gonna say every birth is completely different. I've had 6 completely different births.
Yeah, that's crazy.
and
And
they
it's
will
exciting.
always.
It's
always
exciting.
Yeah. I love you.
Hi, Courtney. Thanks for coming.
What was your
My other question was, somehow we have obtained 3 birth balls rolling across the yard.
Wait, hilarious.
I'll take one.
My question is, they're 3 different sizes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
Oh.
could fit in the shower.
Yeah.
One is like this tall.
Yeah.
Is there like for sitting on? I can sit on all of them.
Yeah.
Is that fine? Would the littler one be like better for like hip rotations? I guess because it's not so big.
I would say the
I don't know.
mid-sized one is going to be best for that because you don't want
You need some
your
room
hips
on
to
it.
be sitting too low to the
Yeah.
ground.
Yeah.
You want them to be sitting like even.
Yeah.
So like your pelvis should be even with your knees.
Like a 90-degree
Yeah.
Okay.
type angle would be what you, right? I think that's what you
Yeah,
would want.
yeah. You wouldn't want it to be like this.
Yeah.
You're-
Or
Not
too
like
low.
You don't want to be
Yeah.
like this, and you don't want to be like this,
Yeah.
awkwardly like up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michaela, mine's here.
Oh, good. That'd be great.